Hello fellow wizards, my name is Stoyan Obreshkov and in today's video I'll give you my top 5 tips on your way to becoming the ICM wizard. Here is the plan. 1. Understand risk premium and the main factors affecting it. 2. How do we adjust our strategy based on our stack size throughout the different phases of the tournament? 3. Start making ICM adjustments earlier in the tournament. 4. Avoid flatting. How to properly build our ranges based on playability and blockers. 5. Defend big blind properly, because the majority of post-flop pots are played versus the big blind, so we should be precise and confident when executing our strategy. Understand risk premium. The definition goes like this. It is the extra equity we need to add on top of pot odds in GPV to get the ICM odds. Since risk premium is measured in percentage terms, if we have, say, 30% pot odds in GPV and we have 10% risk premium, the new pot odds in ICM are gonna be 40%. So we need 10% extra to justify for the risk that we're taking. The main factors that affect these metrics are, first and most important, the stack sizes. So what is our stack size compared to the stack size of our opponent, most importantly, and then what is it relative to the other stacks at the table and in the whole tournament? So for instance, if we're a chip leader at the final table, it is really beneficial for us if there are some really short stacks, because this will increase the risk premium for other players. It will make it hard for them to withstand our aggression. Then the stage of the tournament. As we're approaching the two most important stages of the tournament, the bubble and the final table, we have to adjust our ranges based on how close we are to each of those stages. And then one more thing that some players are underestimating is the number of entrants. I think this is very important to understand that, say, if we're just in the money in a really big field, we're far from final table. Therefore, we can just play close to GPV. Whereas if we're in the money in a high roller tournament where only 10 or 15 players are paid, then we're very close to the final table and we need to think about the big pay jumps now. And then last but not least, payout structures are different in different sides and also in different live events. So the more top-heavy a tournament is, the more it is worth gambling to play for a big stack and give ourselves a good chance to play for the first place. Play your stack size. In this graph, you can see a visual representation of our risk premium in a 300-player field tournament where 41 players are paid. So in green, you can see the big stack, second in chips at the table versus the chip leader, risk premium. In purple, you can see mid stack versus the chip leader, and in blue, you can see the short stack versus the chip leader. So from left to right, we have players left. So starting from 82 players, which is 2x ITM since 41% are paid, going through the bubble towards the final table on the right. And the higher the line goes, the higher the risk premium. So we can see 82 players is a bit less than 30% field left. And we can see that for the short stack, the risk premium is very low, maybe around 1%. For the mid stack, the risk premium is higher, and for the biggest stack, it's the highest. But at this point, we don't really see such high risk premium compared to the bubble and the final table. As we go towards the bubble, you can see that the green line, the big stack, doesn't really get affected that much, because if he's such a big stack, the EV of his stack comes from a deep run and not from min cashing the tournament. So for him, it is more worth it to gamble, and playing for a min cash is not really number one priority. And then we can see, on the other hand, for the shortest stack, his risk premium is the highest out of the three stacks on the bubble by a big margin. Why? Because the EV of the short stack comes from min caching. If he doubles his 5 big blinds to 10, 11 big blinds, he still doesn't have such a big chance for the final table. But if he min caches, this is a big difference in terms of money to bubbling the tournament and not getting anything. So the highest risk premium goes for the short stack at the bubble. And then we can see after cashing the tournament at 41 players, risk premium significantly goes down for all 3 players. And for the shortest stack, it goes to almost 0. He can play chip EV because being the shortest stack and so far away from the final table, there is nothing really holding him back from playing to increase his stack and actually taking some risks. There are no big pay jumps coming ahead of us at 41 players. And then as we go towards the final table, we can see there is a pretty big difference in risk premium between short, mid, and big stack. But this time we see the biggest stack having the highest risk premium. And this is, of course, because when you're the second stack at the table, there is a very big chance that someone busts the tournament before you, even if you don't do anything. So these big pay jumps around the final table and at the final table, they're really important to capture the bigger your stack is. And if you're the shortest stack, there is nothing to wait. And we can see there is some risk premium in the range of 7 to 10% in this example, but it's by far lower than mid stack and big stack. Consider ICM earlier in a tournament. The bigger your stack, the earlier you want to start making adjustments, because as we saw, short stacks have very small risk premium even at around 30% field left, which is not the case for big stacks who have big risk premium at even around 40 and 50% field left. So a general rule of thumb I use is to start adjusting at around 50% field left. And in the following example, I've taken this situation when we're playing 52 big blinds on the button against a cutoff open. Our opponent opens off 64 big blinds. On the left, you can see the chip EV response against the open. And on the right, you can see the 50% field left response. What are the key differences? So first of all, we can see that chip EV flats way wider, pocket deuces plus, and then 9-7 suited, all these suited connectors, and then 8x suited, 10-8, jack-8, queen-8, which are not there in the 50% field left. So we're flatting tighter as we're approaching the bubble, but there is one more thing. We're shifting our flat to 3-bet or fold. Of course, this is not a very extreme example as we're still far away from the bubble, but we can see that on the left in chip EV, we're 3-betting these 9-8 suited, 10-8, queen-8, jack-8, jack-9, queen-9, a lot of hands with playability, king-8 through king-5, and these frequencies are going down at 50% field left, and they're being traded for more blocker-heavy combos such as king-jack off, queen-jack off, king-queen off, and a bunch of those ace-x combos. For more information on this, you can read the article in our theory section of the GTO Wizard blog, When Does ICM Become Significant in MTTs? And since we spoke about shifting our strategy from flatting to more 3-bet or fold, then let's see how this works in practice. In this case, we are comparing chip EV scenario on the left to a near the bubble scenario on the right. Stack sizes are identical. We're playing the button of 26 big blinds against a cutoff open of 22. Both blinds, we have them covered. They each have 13 and 18 respectively when we include the blinds that they have posted. So even though we cover our opponent here, we can see that we reduce the amount of flatting that we do by a lot. It is not only that we have some risk premium against him because he is around 80-90% of our stack, but also by being more aggressive, we'll accomplish a lot more in this case. For instance, when we 3-bet, he's not really allowed to flat that much when he's near the bubble, because he'll put himself in a really tough spot post-flop where he'll have to bluff catch sometimes, and this is very, very dangerous on the bubble. Instead, GTO will adjust by playing more fold or 4-bet jam against our 3-bets. Therefore, he won't be able to defend that much against a 3-bet. So, going to flatting, we can see that only the best hands are left there as a flat. Ace-10 suited, Ace-9 suited, hands that are not comfortable 3-bet calling from the button, and they dominate quite a lot of opens, Ace-X, 10x, 9x hands, and then a little bit of those middle pairs, 7s and 8s, but not really anything else. In terms of jamming, we can jam more here because we cover and we put our opponent to the test for his whole tournament life. And then, of course, if we were the shorter stack, then we wouldn't be able to jam as much. But yeah, look at the 3-bet non-all-in to 5 big blinds. First of all, we can see that we're going 10s plus on the right near the bubble, Ace-Jack suited and Ace-Queen off for the most part. And then we have quite a lot of bluffs out there. So we have a lot of off-suited aces, we have a lot of off-suited Broadways right here. We have even a decent amount of low-suited kings. And in this case, our ratio value to bluffs is going down, meaning that we have more bluffs to one value combo because the risk premium is working in our favor. When we compare that to Chippy V, we can see that because of the short stacks behind who are going to be shoving a lot more in Chippy V, we're going to be trapping with our aces and kings for the most part. And then we have some ace-king suited, queens and jacks, some combos for value. Therefore, we cannot really have too many bluffs. Tip number 5, defend the big blind properly. Now, in this example, I've compared the final table situation to a situation where 3 tables left in the tournament. We're playing a multi-way defense from the big blind against UTG1 open of 24 bigs and a button flat of 125 bigs. In this case, we can clearly see that at the final table, we have to be defending much less in general, cutting out our flats by a ton. We can see that hands as good as King Jack off and Queen Jack off, Queen 9 suited, Jack 8 suited, they're not making it as a call, whereas at 3 tables left, we see that we're calling quite a lot more. Then in terms of 3-betting non-all-in, we can see that only aces, kings, and ace-king suited stay there at the final table, and we expand that to queens plus ace-jack suited plus at 3 tables left. Why? Because when we 3-bet non-all-in, we put ourselves at more risk. Then having the higher risk premium at the final table, we have to avoid these situations. Therefore, we're gonna use queens and ace-queen suited as jams, and ace-jack suited even becomes a call. So you can think about it this way. Our 36, 37 actually big blinds become just much, much more valuable as we approach the final table. And then for shoving, we can see that in general there is less shoving at the final table. We can see that pocket 9s and pocket 10s are almost full frequency shoves at 3 tables left. There is some 5s and 4s as well as bluffs. While at the final table, we start pure shoving jacks, and then 10s is mixing a little bit of frequency in there. As for suited Broadways that are really, really good jams, usually to fold out better hands, we can see that we're just jamming a lot more at 3 tables left, because again, we have lower risk premium. So the 10x, king 10 through queen 10, jack 10 are jams, whereas at the final table, these are calls. And then another difference here is that at the final table, we're shoving as a bluff more blocker and blocker hands, as we call them, so ace deuce suited or ace 5 suited. The great property of these hands is that they're both blocking the value part with the high card, with the ace in this case, and they're not blocking the folding part of our opponent's ranges, so they're not blocking an 8, a 9, you know, these raise folds from UTG or flats from the button, and they have decent equity when called. And one bonus tip now. No matter how good you understand these ranges, always try to be present and play your spot in the moment against this exact opponent. GTO equilibrium is so fragile that even the slightest deviation from your opponent results in a completely different response by you. So try to understand how he deviates from the baseline so that you're able to maximize your profit. For instance, if you're playing against a passive opponent, you can be flatting a lot more than what GTO output suggests. You can be defending big blind a lot more as well. But if you're playing against an aggressive and capable opponent and he 3-bets you in position, then try to stick to these GTO ranges out of position, because he will be able to put a lot of pressure post-flop. If you have been fully involved watching this video, you should be able to answer all of these questions by now. So I challenge you, pause the video now and test yourself how many of these questions you can answer, and if there is something that is still unclear, just go back and rewatch it. 10 minutes is certainly not enough to cover such a wide topic, so if you still got any questions or need something clarified, please ask in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to answer each one of them to the best of my abilities. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it will help you sharpen your A game so you crush your competition at all stages of the tournament. In the meanwhile, you can reach out Discord with suggestions about future topics. Let me know what you want to see next from us and we'll deliver. See you at the final tables.